All right, we're up. You're working hard for the money. That's what we're all about here on Your Place for News, Talk, and Information. Total Financial Solutions, special candidate forum. Look, we've got a whole setup here. Place for you to ask questions. Go to Twitter if you have at tfswealth.com. You can ask questions at tfswealth.com, stands for Total Financial Solutions. You can also go to scvtv.com. You're going to see this as it's recorded. If you missed something, you want to go back and review what it is that folks are saying and what matters to you. Because, look, this is your city. You understand that, right? This is your right to vote. There are men and women serving this country all around the world in the past, current, and will be in the future, from Santa Clarita, all about serving us here. Okay, with us, Mr. Dante Acosta. Dante is a candidate for City Council. Thanks for joining us, Dante.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we're getting right into what it is that matters to you. Why are you serving? What is the reason? What is missing that you see in our city that you can deliver to the city?
You know, I think what I bring to the City Council, in addition to my many years and my decades of business experience and, of course, serving the community and different charities and whatnot, is my ability to get things done, the fact that I'll be an independent voice on the City Council, and the fact that I will be able to be that cohesiveness that I think is sometimes lacking. We have an issue right now where not necessarily everybody's getting along in the City Council, and I think injecting some new blood, which of course will happen by default, but we need to have some new blood on the City Council, somebody that can go in there and work with all parties, someone who's used to making compromise and negotiate. Hey, I've been married for 28 years. I rarely get everything I want, right? But someone that can go in there and help get things done.
You know, the hardest part of life when it comes to serving others is there are times when we have to make sacrifices. There are times when we have to not know that we're not going to get everything we want. And sometimes those tough decisions, there's often decisions that are both correct, right and right, wrong and wrong, are easy to decide that we're not going to do it. But when there are two correct decisions, give me one of the toughest decisions, business or in life, that you think can assist you develop your character in becoming a better person to serve us here in the city of Santa Clarita. One of those toughest decisions you've ever had to make.
You know, I'll give you two. You know, on a business level, we've all had those situations, and like you, as a financial advisor for over 20 years, I've had to make that tough call where maybe dealing with a particular client that, while it could have been lucrative for my family, wasn't necessarily, the best choice from an ethical standpoint. And we're all often faced with those kinds of dilemmas, and being able to understand the difference between what is right and wrong and what is maybe expedient or profitable or the other issues. And the toughest thing I've had to do from a personal level is, when our son was killed in Afghanistan, having to tell my two younger children that they lost their brother, their oldest brother. That was the most difficult thing I've ever had to deal with, my wife has ever had to deal with in our lives.
Tough way to go, to lose a child. Dante, you have served in other areas in Santa Clarita. Give us an example of what it is.
Yeah, a question I have as a veteran and the son of a veteran. I know one of the toughest decisions my dad had to make was putting my bars on. Tell me about that. When did you make that decision that your son could go in, etc.?
He actually enlisted just before his 18th birthday, and it was a bit of a surprise because Rudy was not necessarily that kid that you'd expect to be out there in a combat role. Rudy actually selected probably one of the most philanthropic, if you will, things he could do. He actually became a medic in the U.S. Army. So he told me, he says, "Dad, I'm not going over to kill anybody. I'm going over to serve and to help people." And as a matter of fact, the first life he saved over in Afghanistan was an Afghan border policeman, and they didn't expect him to live, and he was very effective at that. But to come back to your question, when they're 2.5 weeks shy of their 18th birthday and they're having this decision and you're discussing it with them and you're going back and you have angst, etc., what choice do we really have as parents? Kids at 18 are going to do what they want. So we could have let him wait 2.5 weeks. He would have been upset with us, and he would have gone down and enlisted anyway.
Right?
But we wanted to support him in his decision, his life decisions and goals.
Well, you walk into City Council week one. Mm-hmm. You're elected. It's your time to walk in the door. City staff, their job is to serve us. It is your character, your integrity, the past experiences and work and history and business, the past that you bring to that table, and then in there you have a staff of professional men and women, and their job is to serve you. You're going to say, what is that issue that you want to pull them off of their tasks or have them expand what they're doing? What is that issue you want done that first week?
Since day one, my campaign has been about good, high-paying jobs in the city through economic development, law enforcement in terms of public safety, which includes police and fire, and our great EMTs. And it's been about taking care of our bookends, I call them, our youth and our seniors. And of course, I'll throw traffic in there for good measure. I've been talking about that from day one.
So what is it that we're going to do? We walk into the door and we say it's nice to have, we want God love puppy dogs and walks in the park.
Puppies.
What are we going to do?
I think the first thing you do is you sit down and you take stock of what are all of the different rules and regulations that the city has imposed that aren't necessarily needed or are redundant with the county. We've all heard business owners tell us, I certainly have as a financial advisor, I'm sure you have, our clients that are business owners saying, listen, this was the toughest place to do business, this was a challenge here, this was a challenge here, and I'm going to sit down with the staff and say, why do we have this regulation when this one is imposed by the state, federal, or county level? Do we really need to be adding this additional burden? How can we streamline this process? And it's part of that nuts and bolts that we do on a daily basis when we're looking at a client's asset allocation. We're basically tearing apart their lives and saying, let's look at everything holistically. And when you sit down and you take a holistic approach to city governance, it's not a whole lot different than what we do on a daily basis. And let's take a look at this specific issue. For example, restaurants coming into town, they tell us that sometimes those issues with having to get their permitting process is the longest they've ever had to deal with any of their small chain or medium-sized chain that they have to deal with at any place. So why is that the case when we purport to be one of the most business-friendly communities in Southern California? I want to make us the most business community-friendly and have a reputation for that.
Dante, talk about your background. You've got experience. Talk about the volunteer associations, the organizations, things you've been involved in. Maybe been some kids involved.
Wow, great question. From day one when Carolyn and I moved here 28 years ago, we became involved in the community. We had no children, so we had some time. We were involved in local issues. We were docents at Hart Park. I, of course, got into the Rotary Club right away and the Morning Club at that time. And, we do a lot of different things there. Little League coach. But also, I'm on the board of directors of Circle of Hope, one of the finest cancer charities in town. I've been involved with the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, making sure that we have good laws and regulations there. Our kids' school, church, the Awana programs. The list is quite long. We'd be here for a while if we went through all of them. But
Dante, one of the things that you've looked at in your life is there's been strengths, there's been weaknesses. What are some of the things you have done to help get rid of a weakness, minimize it? I don't even know if we can get rid of it because there's natural things that we have that are strengths. Tell us what one of those weaknesses are that you have as a candidate, as an individual, as a man, whatever it might be. And what are some of the things you have done to help lessen the impact to others?
You mean my personal weaknesses?
Whatever it might be.
Okay,
whatever you might say. We have about a minute left.
We have about a minute left. Well, I'll take 30 seconds. I tend to be fairly impatient and want results right away. That's my my nature. However, over the years, you mellow and you learn that not everybody is going to move at your speed, but you also have to make sure that what you expect of others that you do for yourself, and you make sure that you're exceeding expectations wherever possible. And so I think that's something that I've had to really struggle and work with my personal self. Is that, listen, I can't expect overnight results, and that's why long-term planning and long-term goal setting is very important.
I like that. Last question, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, I just think about you have a lot of experience working with kids as well as with vets, with everyone in between. What area do you want to focus on first?
I want to focus on our senior center and make sure that our seniors are well taken care of.
Folks, we're joined by Dante Acosta. I want to thank him for coming in. This is your City Council candidate forum. Want to learn a little bit more about him? You can go to hometownstation.com. You can click on Total Financial Solutions, pull up information. You can stream live, learn more about what we're talking about here today. You can, of course, go back and listen to some old, if you will, some great information, some past podcasts, and find out more about it. Thanks for joining us. We're going to continue with our City Council candidate forum. I'm Arif Halaby, joined by Mark Murphy. Thank you, Dante, for coming in as we continue with other candidates for your City Council here in the city of Santa Clarita. I'm Arif Halaby. We'll be right back.